How do I navigate relationships and attending social events with family who don't understand my grief?
Ships are a big thing when you're not having any other major things going along, when life's just ticking along. There's always a little something to do. And also we grieve very differently. So I was a single mum when I lost Adam, but I think I had a little bit of a balanced view of it, because I think in some way I was sort of mum and dad to him, and in a way I did some of what a lot of people would think of more the male dominated aspect, because I I was the only provider for our home. So not long afterwards, I went back to work because I wanted to keep the home that Adam and I had. So I did that, focusing on work, and everybody at work probably thought I was really strong, but I wasn't. I'd got one of my colleagues to tell everyone, just tell anyone not to ask me about it, because I knew just I was one moment away from anyone saying anything and I would have just crumpled. So it was just like a lot of us do. It was just wearing a mask to the world, going there. So I think a lot of the dads are like that, and it's part of that male nature thing, as well as how we've been brought up as well, to think, oh yeah, you've got to be the provider and you've got to be the strong one. So they go back to work and they think they're doing it like that, and then you get a lot of angst, I find, between the people I've worked with, where the mums are thinking, oh, you don't care anymore because I even had my mum say it to me, because I suppose in some ways I was acting quite masculine by going back to work, and they were retired and had all the time in the world to dwell on it even more. It wasn't like I couldn't imagine my pain being any less than theirs. But yeah, she said, oh, you've just moved on with your life. So even to her initially it looked like I'd done that, but that was just my way of coping. So we all have our own methods of coping. And part of what I work with, I've got a 4Cs system that I've worked with now from my experience and what I work with. And one of those is communication. So that's the biggest key, is just finding a way to communicate with each other about how you're grieving. And we'd love to live in that world where we all just naturally share and we tell each other everything, but we don't. So that's a big thing, of finding a way to communicate between you and your partner. So that's one big aspect of it. And then the other thing is, like, family will say, oh, attend these events, and then we've all got trigger points for that. So um in a way, I think I was relatively lucky. Back in my era, social media didn't exist then, so I didn't see. Since then, I know a lot of the parents say, when it's things like going back to school, other parents will post stuff on their first day back at school, and these can be really triggering when your child then didn't make that going back to school, or you've got that link with other parents, or you see someone that you haven't seen for a while, and then they ask, oh, how is so and so again, and you've got that big question. There's obviously so many things like that, but just even with the immediate family, others don't think sometimes. They're living their lives, and especially in today's world, we're in such a busy life where people are doing things. It's not like they're uncaring, but they just don't think. Your sister will invite you round to their kids' birthdays, and they just won't realize how impossibly hard it is for you to go there, knowing that your child should be part of that. As I mentioned earlier in the other questions, although my boys weren't around physically when I had Adam, it was still hard when they were celebrating things, and it was that you're sort of torn on the outside to them. It was portrayed, especially Christmas is a good example of that. And we had our little routine. We used to always go Christmas Eve down to the grave and do the thing there. They were always aware of Adam. That's how they had to meet him. Actually, both their grandparents on that side, by meeting them all at a graveside. But yeah, they had that connection. Even then, I'd be putting that bit of a brave face on. Oh, we're going here to do his garden, that sort of thing. And they didn't know that inside I was thinking, oh, I'm still not feeling any connection, because I wasn't feeling close at that point. And then Christmas, we'd have that. But then I had to make Christmas Day special for them, especially when they were small. They're two little children. You can't, but it is hard. You're sort of constantly drawn. But that's the thing later now. With hindsight, I wish I could have found the energy healing in the way of releasing some of those emotions earlier, So then I could have even been a better parent for my sons growing up as well, because I could have truly enjoyed it. I did, even back then, there was a little way Adam had made his play group, he'd made a little Christmas hat, and that always used to sit on top of the tree as our equivalent of the fairy or the star. So, he was always there. And I think they knew he'd made that, but yeah, that was just there. But it was just that placing, but it wasn't the focus of that. Whereas if, I remember the first Christmas after losing him, luckily I didn't have to try and jolly along that in particular, because I didn't have other children. But I went to I had Christmas Day with my mum and dad. That was my only other family at that time. But I went round to very close friends on Boxing Day, and that I just zoned out. But because it wasn't my family, I could just sort of like, oh yeah, and like you say, hold the glass of wine and be sort of semi happy and that. But again, it was just putting on another facade. So it's just things like that, of releasing those emotions so that you can fully enjoy that. And you've got that. Another part of what I work with as well is just having that strength and empowerment within you. So you've got your own personal power. So you can say to whoever that's inviting you to these events that you don't want to go for those reasons, or in some respects, you can do the energy work on it, and then you are able to attend those events and still enjoy it. But either way, you can actually communicate that with them as well.